the polyps issues like I have. The polyps are why I'm losing blood. They were like astonished that I made it here, that I was able to walk around. I came here knowing I needed blood transfusion, and they didn't even bother asking me if I if I wanted the hospital tape there. That was itchy earlier, but it stopped itching right now. I'm gonna probably ask if later, because they're dealing with somebody not being able to breathe that well right now. And when I push the nurse call button, I have to push it at least twice, if not more. I mean, I didn't my first night with Stephanie, but Stephanie was awesome. But yeah, I'm gonna ask for them to give me new tape here so it's not itching. And that's also looking indented to me. But yeah, my doctor yelled at me. You know, I was telling him what was going on. That the iron, you know, I was trying to tell him that, you know, when he was telling me my iron was really low, I'm like, yeah, my mom has the same thing going on. And he yelled at me for that. He kind of yelled at me because I didn't know when it's that time of the month how many pads or tampons I go through. I mean, I already told him how long it lasts and that they're regular. I'm sorry to talk about that on there, but yeah, I got yelled at for that. I got yelled at for my hemoglobin level being to 2. He comes in, he's like, you are the second lowest hemoglobin level I have ever seen. And I was like, okay, and I'm not proud of that. He acts like I purposely waited until my hemoglobin was level 2. How was I supposed to know I got that low? I'm not psychic. Just because I knew to come here for a blood transfusion, because I was feeling dizzy, and, you know, I was feeling dizzy sitting down. And I was tired a lot, and it had gotten to the point to where I didn't know when I was hungry or not. My stomach would hurt, and I didn't know if it was safe to eat or not, because I would have sharp pains in my stomach. And then, you know, every time I'd walk anywhere, even to the bathroom, bedroom to the bathroom, I'd be, you know, my heart would be pounding like crazy. I don't know. I mean, he yelled at me until I cried. And then I was crying so hard that I couldn't breathe. And it took me over an hour to calm down, to stop, you know, crying, stop, you know. I just don't know. And, you know, he really made it just like, if I was that kind of person, you know, why would I have even bothered to come to the hospital? And, you know, I was like, maybe I should have gone to the hospital, you know. I'm not trying to joke and not, but, you know, it made me feel really bad about being even here. So, and the other thing here is, I don't know if you guys know, of course, food, you know, they stopped serving at 6. They wound up waking me up to ask if I wanted anything. And they're like, oh, there's 15 minutes until it's, you know, until you can get something from the kitchen. And I was like, you think you could have told me a little more? But Gilbert and I had ordered what we wanted, and there's a $5 charge for him, but yeah, it's not for me. But yeah, one of the issues was that I don't have a license, and I don't have very many people to ask to bring me to the hospital. I can't afford an ambulance, and I only have a medical card, and I was looking for a medical card to make sure I can do this. So when I got determined to find a medical card, and I luckily found it, I told Gilbert, I was like, I'm going to the hospital today. And then, I wound up eating something, and I ate something, and then I came over here as soon as I could. And yeah, I did not know that my hemoglobin level was 2. I thought I was still 5 or close to 5, I was hoping. Because a couple of years ago, that's why I was told it was low down. It was to that level. And that's why I had told that doctor. And he's like, well, I don't see 5 anywhere on here. I'm like, well, this wasn't recent. And I don't know, since they didn't do anything, they didn't give me blood, that if they wrote that down or not. And because they were supposed to do a surgery, and they told me, we're canceling that surgery because your hemoglobin levels are too low. They told me it was 5. And I was like, okay. And are we going to do anything about that? I shouldn't have to ask the doctor, can you please, give me some more blood if my hemoglobin levels are low. And they didn't do anything. And then they decided, a few days later, while I was still in the hospital, to reschedule that, surgery. And I was like, you didn't do anything about that, and yet you're wanting me to have that surgery. I was like, yeah, I don't want to do that. You haven't given me iron or anything, and I have a really bad gag reflex. I can't take pills, and I throw up when I have pills. I generally have to have it dissolve in water. But, yeah, and especially the iron pills, they're really nasty. And I have tried an apple sauce. It didn't help. But I had an iron shot yesterday, and it was in the IV. I don't know if that's any of the reason for the swallowing, but I think it swelled last time too. So this is one of the longest I've been on camera for a while for being live, but I just wanted to ask if it's normal for swelling to be in the hand, because I think it happened last time I was in the hospital too, when they insisted on giving me an IV in the hand. I asked them when, because they tried to put it in that hand too, but the vein blew out. And I already showed you the other one that is the first one that they did. But this one, my inner elbow, it kept beeping when I wasn't even moving. I was perfectly still. And, my hands were asleep. Because I wasn't moving. And I moved my pinky, it started beeping. That was in the ER. But, yeah, I just was curious about that. If anyone can tell me if it's normal, if you have an IV in your hand for it to swell. Because, when I had said something to one of the nurses, about that, about my hand. She's like, well, maybe it's because you're moving a lot. I'm like, I don't think that's why my hand is swelling, but okay. Yeah, but I understand how serious this is, and I'll do whatever I have to do to, make sure that I can be healthy again. I don't like being sick. I don't want to die. I did not, thank you, Irene. But yeah, I don't I lost train of thought now. It's like, you're blaming me for some of this stuff that is genetic. Like, I can't help that I have an iron deficiency. I can't help that I have polyps in the entire lining of my stomach that is taking a majority of my blood, and I don't know if it's not allowing me to have the iron or to keep any iron, keep any blood cells from forming. I don't know what to do. I'm in Pontiac, Illinois, unfortunately, and that was one of the worst doctors since the doctor I had for Brandon, Dr. Nee, because Dr. Nee told me if once Brandon was born and we seen how little he was when they started unwrapping him, because when they brought him into the room 17 years ago, he looked like he was a regular sized baby. And then they started unwrapping him for some reason. And Dr. Nee told me that if my son was still alive, that he would have been retarded. I'm like, seriously, after what I just went through, my son dying, you're saying the R word. And I wasn't expecting him to be, the smartest person or anything, because, I'm mentally, I have a learning disability myself, and my ex-husband, the father of Brandon, also had a learning disability. So, I was expecting him to need special ed classes as well as Nick and I did. But, yeah. And my nurses seem to be like, not come in unless I could call the call button. They haven't came in since before 11 o'clock. And it's, just after 3. It's 3:36 now. It's just like, with that doctor doing, saying what he said, getting down my case, and, my tears are streaming down my face, and he was not stopping. I was not able to breathe because I was crying so hard and so much, and he was not stopping. If it wasn't for Vicky, that brought me here, being here and telling him, yeah, I don't know how much longer he would have yelled at me. He was mad because, he was saying something about, payments or whatever. And, Vicky's like, well, not everyone can afford, I got fired for my health problems, my stomach problems. And so, and I've been scared to work again because anyone that knows me knows that I like to work and knows I do not want to miss any days, and I don't like being sick. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't like spinach. And thank you for your concern. I know if I can eat steak on a regular basis, steak has iron also. And I've tried cereal in the past, but most cereals I like. I wound up finding out that like I think they did a video where there's paint thinner in some cereals. I'm like, okay, I don't know if I can eat any of the cereals I like, including Cheerios. But I'm gonna go ahead and say bye right now. I might do another live later because, I had a lot in my mind about, because of that doctor. But yeah. But I just, I know I just said I was gonna get off, but him, like I was denied some assistance, and it's like Nick doesn't have it, or not Nick, but Gilbert doesn't have insurance. Gilbert is Walter Disney. Yeah, his name's Gilbert Granby. For anyone that was wondering, yeah, that's my boyfriend. So, yeah, I only have medical card. I don't have anything else. And Vicky had told the doctor that she was going to help get assistance. Oh, and he also got mad because I didn't have a primary doctor, because all of my life I've basically always had my parents around, and they would help me go, see doctors. I did have Mary Stevens from Cullum Clinic, but, she had retired. And, yeah, I basically didn't go to Cullum Clinic all that much. It was like I went there when I had chickenpox, which I had chickenpox twice. I had it like when I was 8 years old, and I had it basically back to back as when I was just getting better. I had somehow gotten it again. So yeah, I know I gotta watch out for shingles. That's another scare. So yeah. I was like, why are you yelling about all these things that are out of my control that I did not know about? I was at least smart enough to come in and ask you guys to give me a blood transfusion, and I kept pushing for the iron shot because of not being able to take anything else. Because they actually mentioned the iron liquid, and I was like, Peoria wouldn't refuse that because they said it was expensive and it tastes worse than the pill. So I don't know. And they said something about mixing the liquid with orange juice, and I'm like, I'm not a big orange juice fan, but I would actually personally take the shot versus pill. And I don't know how disgusting, my taste buds are super sensitive, and I'm sorry I'm not keeping the camera still, but yeah, now I'm seriously going to let you go. Bye.